Welcome to the long free ride.
Welcome back to the Long Free Ride. In this episode, we take a look at Tromsø. Tromsø is a fairly large city on the northwest of Norway. If we zoom in, you'll see that it's actually an island in the middle of a strait of water. There's a rather impressive bridge crossing between the island and the mainland, which we take a walk over. And it's also the home of the world's most northerly brewery, and that's got to be worth a visit.
Our tour of Tromsø started by walking down to the water's edge and along the Tromsø-Sundet Strait. This whole area was a major Arctic trade centre in the end of the 19th century. So consider it as base camp for lots of fishing or exploring expeditions, and the boats would all come and go out of here. Crossing the Tromsø Bridge gave John the collywobbles, so he was walking ahead of me really quickly, absolutely desperate to get off this bridge. I don't really understand why, because we were separated from the traffic by a solid barrier. There were no open sides. It's been built up so that people can't jump off the bridge. The bridge itself is over 1,036 metres, so that's about 3,399 feet, and at its maximum height it's 38 metres above the water, so that's about 125 feet. We've definitely been higher, so it was unusual to see John react like this.
Michelle is right, I was not enjoying crossing the bridge. With the lorries thundering past on one side and what appeared to be an open chasm on the other side, it made the walkway appear very, very narrow to me, and I just wanted to get across. As you come off at the eastern end of the bridge, the view is dominated by a large white church. Having walked up to the entrance area, it was clear that there are loads of people going in, probably from the cruise ships that dock at Tromsø. Now, I don't mind a good medieval cathedral, but this modern place left me feeling a bit cold. Maybe that's why they call it the Arctic Cathedral. Anyway, Michelle went inside and grabbed some footage.
The Arctic Cathedral was opened to the public in 1965. It's actually a parish church on the mainland and not even a cathedral. Each side is made up of 11 aluminium-coated concrete panels, which give it a triangular structure. On the inside, it feels really severe, but decorated really simply with oak pews. After the cathedral, we were in an area called Sollivien, and from here, we could get the cable car up the mountain. This is 50 metres above sea level, and there's a cable car to go up to the mountain ledge called Storsteinen. This takes you to 421 metres above sea level with spectacular views back across to the island of Tromsø where the city centre is. The cable car was built in 1961 by a company called Brodren Jacobsen Rederier. Apologies for the pronunciation. They were actually a shipping company and they were running expeditions to both the Arctic and Antarctic. Although the cable car journey was only 4 minutes, I was very glad we weren't walking up this hill because the cable car is pretty steep.
As we entered the cable car to descend, it was Michelle's turn to get the heebie-jeebies. She slunk off to the back of the cabin and probably held on and looked at the floor whilst I looked out the front and took some footage of the cable car descending. If you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. It costs you nothing and it makes such a difference to a small channel like ours. Once back at the base station, we wandered off to look for a bus back into town. This of course required us to load yet another app on our phones in order to get a ticket for the bus. Although, to be fair, nobody seemed to bother doing anything, they just seemed to pile on the bus. But anyway, we did the right thing and we had a valid ticket. After a rather unhealthy lunch at a burger joint, we continued our wander around the city, slowly heading towards the Mack Brewery. Mack's Beer Brewery, or Ølbryggeri, was founded in 1877 by Ludwig Marcus Mack. It claims to be the northernmost brewery in the world and has been a family-run business to this day. There is still a microbrewery in Tromsø, but the main production plant is now located about 70 kilometres away, as it outgrew the space available within the city. Mack's historic buildings in Tromsø are still used and now house both the administration facilities, the TLFR beer shop and other functions. It was at the beer shop that Michelle and I bought tickets for the brewery tour.
Our tour of the microbrewery started with a movie they've produced of the family history. So passed down from grandfather to the three sons and so on to the living day. We were taken into the original cellars and they explained the original brewing process that this family have used for centuries. In one of the stone cellars, they showed us the fermenting pods, and in there was a stage with a whole music and sound system set up. We were very surprised, and when they showed us the actual distillery part, where they're fermenting the yeast, they were all named with artists like Elvis. They do this because they believe that playing music helps the yeast develops, and for each of their brews they have a playlist, and you can access this if you buy their beer and scan the QR code on the back. It will play you through Spotify the exact music that the yeast listened to whilst it was fermenting. How cool is that? They say happy yeast makes good beer. And to make yeast happy, apparently you play it music very loudly.
The Mack Beer Hall, Ølhallen, opened in 1928, making it Tromsø's oldest pub. The beer hall now serves draft beer from 67 taps, which makes it Europe's longest draft bridge. There are beer tasting sessions that can be booked online, but if you're going to be tasting all 67 beers on tap, you might find walking a bit tricky afterwards. I tried a couple of the dark beers on tap, whilst Michelle played with the wildlife.
The city centre of Tromsø has the highest number of old and wooden houses in northern Norway, dating back to 1789. We found most of them had been turned into retail stores, and a lot of those were quite touristy. They do have a fascination with trolls. Our friend Alison likes pictures of trolls, so these are for you. In Norse mythology, trolls are not very friendly to humans. They use their connections with nature to baffle and deceive us. Some of the fairy tales around trolls say that they uproot trees and use them as clubs against humans, and also are able to cause hurricanes and avalanches. So they're actually quite nasty pieces of work. Join us next time for our trip to Lofoten Islands. However, first, John's got to get the car out of the car park.
You're okay. Stop.